I think I may have found a reference image that will give us a better view of this angle here. Let me open up the images again, and I think it's this one here, this number 12. I'm going to open this one up. And yeah, if you can see here, there's an edge. You see that edge right there? That's the angle that I need. And it looks to me like that edge is in line with the bottom of the back window. So maybe if we go to the side view here, and we tab into edit mode and hit the 1 key to go to vertex mode, we should be able to hit the B key and border select these 2 points here and just drag them up so they're in line with the bottom of the back window. Kind of like that. Let's try this. So now if we tumble around, go back to solid view, yeah, so there's that angle. I think that's going to work. All right, so now that we've got that angle there, how do we get the doors in here now? Because we've created kind of an odd angle, an odd surface here on the cab. These doors need to mold to that surface as well as be kind of oddly shaped in their outline too. So how do we do that? Well, I think first of all, what let's do is let's create a polygon plane and get that basic shape in line here. Then let's worry about molding that polygon plane to the shape of the cab. So, first of all, let's go ahead and press Shift A and go to Mesh Plane, and we've created a polygon plane here. Now let's turn it with RY90, and then let's bring it out to the side about like that. Okay. Now if we go back to the side view, let's bring it up, shrink it down, and let's line it up, say, this corner here with this corner. Let's just do that first, and then we'll get the other corners in line as well. So I'll tab into edit mode, and I'll just select this point right here, hit the G key, and move it to this corner there. And then let's grab this one, move it to this corner, grab this one, hit G, and move it to this corner. So we've just kind of blocked out that basic shape. Now, if we select this edge here, I'll press Shift and click that point so we select that whole edge. And I'll hit E, and let's bring this all the way down to here, line up this point, grab this one here, and move it to that corner right there. All right, so we've got that basic shape now of the door. The problem is that we're going to need to mold it to this shape here, and there's that edge, there's that angle that we just put in place. We need to reflect that bend in this door here, right? We need to have this edge right here. So let's go back to the side view here, and let's rework these points to get that. I think if I grab this point and hit the G key and move this up, let's just kind of move it up to here. And then let's go ahead and add an edge loop with Control R. And I'll add an edge loop right here and drag it right up to this point right here. So I'm lining this point up with that edge on the cab. There we go. And I'll grab this one and line this one up with the edge on the cab as well. Because we need that edge there if we're going to bend that door to match the angle of the cab. So I'll go back to solid view, and there we go. That's the edge we needed right there. Okay, so now that we have that edge so the door can bend, how do we now make it bend and mold to the cab? Well, Blender has a modifier called Shrink Wrap, and I think that'll do it for us. So let's try that. Before I do anything, I'm going to go ahead and apply the rotation and scale of this object. I'll press Control A and apply the rotation and scale. And then I'll come over here to the modifiers panel, and let's choose Add Modifier and Shrink Wrap. I'll click that. Now, we need to give it a target. What is it going to shrink wrap to? Let's click the eyedropper, and we'll click on the cab right here. And there we go. That shrink wraps it to that cab. However, it kind of shrunk it down as it did that. So if I click and drag in the offset, you can see that as I bring it back out, it kind of expands to its original size. So I'll just type in 0 here again. So we're going to need to adjust that a bit. Let's go back to this side view, hit the Z key and go to wireframe. And what we should do is realign the points as best we can to the reference image. So I'll tab into edit mode, hit the 1 key, and notice that the shrink wrapped object here is different than the original object here. You can kind of see that. If I choose this point, that point is actually this corner right here. So what we can do is come over here and turn on this Adjust Edit Cage button like we did when we were doing the mirror modifier. So I'll click this, and now those points align to the shrink-wrapped form. Okay, so now that we have that, let's just hit the G key and let's start moving these up back to the corners where we wanted them. And as we do, they should stay fairly aligned with the shape of the cab. So let me grab this one and I'll hit G and I'm just going to move this up to here. And I'll kind of move this one back up into the middle here like this, something like that. All right, so let's see how we're doing here. Hit Z, solid. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. This flickering we're getting is called Z-fighting. And what this is since we've got two objects in the exact same location, they're fighting with each other as to which one should be presented in the display first. So it's just a display error. It isn't a problem that we'll have to deal with once we get this all completed. All right, let's tab back into object mode and let's go ahead and apply this. I'll click apply. And now let's just drag it out. And there we go. So that gives us the basic outline and the angle of the door. The next thing we need to do is create that hole that the door sits in. So let's do that. First of all, I'm going to move this origin to the object. I'll go to Object and choose Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. There we go. And I'll move this out a bit. And let's give it some thickness so that we can then use it as a cutter to cut the hole into the cab using the Boolean modifier. All right, so let's come over here and go to Add Modifier, Solidify, and that'll give it some thickness. I'll click and drag in the thickness field to give it a little bit more. There we go. Then I'll click Apply. Now let's drag this in so it's intersecting with the cab about like that. And then let's use that Boolean modifier. I'll click the cab, and we want to cut into this. So I'll click Add Modifier, Boolean. Let's scroll down, and we need to give it the cutting object. So I'll click on the eyedropper here, and let's choose that door. There we go. Now let's click Apply, and let's see what we have. I'll click the door, move it out. And there we go. Now we've got that hole that the door sits in. So let's bring this back in and put it right about in there. See how that works. Yeah, that's actually not too bad. We could maybe scale this door in just a smidge. Maybe just press S and scale in just a bit to give it a little bit of breathing room there. And I'm holding that Shift key down as well when I'm doing this. Oh, let's try that again. There we go. So just something like that, just so there's a little bit of breathing room in there. There we go. Okay, so there's our first door. In the next video, let's work on the back door, and maybe we can begin on the windows as well.